Hi there, YouTube and the van community and the van curious. Uh, I just figured I'd kind of document my merging into a van life. So I just spent my second night in my van that I just recently purchased, which also happens to be my first vehicle that I've ever owned, because I live in New York and we have the mass transit. So we don't really need a car to get around in New York unless you're transporting stuff around all the time. We just use the trains. Plus, it's expensive. That car insurance will kill you. But at this point in my life, I was looking for a place to live and was not really psyched on paying rent, which is also very expensive in New York. So, basically, I just needed my own kind of solo space to dwell. I'm not really traveling at the moment because I have young children that I need to take care of and I need to be there for them every morning. And every evening, I try to, help put them down to bed and stuff like that. But I did need my own space. So, first I looked into getting an RV, and I started putting money aside for that. But then, I sort of got discouraged. I realized it was kind of a bit too involving, a bit too expensive. It's a complicated, machine. It's basically a house on wheels. I even bought a RV repair book, and I realized it was just a bit too much for me to tackle at the moment with a baby and a young child and a growing business and all this kind of other stuff that was going on in my life. So then I stumbled into this website called Cheap RV Living, which focuses on living in a van, which I considered briefly for a second before, and I was just like, nah, no way. You can't stand up in there. It's way too cramped. I'm gonna feel claustrophobic, yada yada, and all kinds of excuses. But upon stumbling on this website, I realized, like, hey, you could actually live in a van, really, and there's a lot of advantages of an RV. It's cheaper, it's better on gas. You can literally buy a van for $1,000 and then just furnish it. And all the things that basically you think you'd be missing, such as toilet, sink, things like that, you could still have. I have a porta potty in my van that it seals up all the smells and pretty easy to it doesn't take up that much space. It's not imposing and doesn't stink, and it's easy to dispose of the waste when you're ready to do that. So that was kind of my biggest challenge. And then the sink, I have a sink that I'm working on, but I feel like it's almost like not worth the real estate that it takes up in the van because I do have very limited space. So I might just finish it as a project, but I may not keep it. I may just put it, away in storage or something for the time being. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here. The point is, cheaprvliving.com gave me all this amazing wealth of information to help me make the move into a van. So I strongly recommend that to anybody who's curious about the life. So my experiences as somebody who slept in the van 2 nights now are such. First night, I was completely unprepared. It's December here. It gets pretty cold. It was about 32 degrees, I think, when I looked. It might have gotten colder overnight, but I just basically went into the van with my blanket. I didn't set anything up. I just had like a bottle of water in the toilet, and some snacks and such. And I put, it's a conversion van, so I have the back seat converts into a bed, which I didn't do. I just decided I'll just sleep in the seat position, and it was enough space for me, and it wasn't. But anyway, so it was freezing. All night I was freezing. I woke up like every hour, shivering. Blanket was not enough. A blanket is enough when you're in a heated room in your apartment. It's not enough in a cold van outside in the winter, and I'm sure it gets much colder. So I was completely unprepared. First night was miserable. I got up at 4:30 in the morning and decided to go back inside, which was I was parked near where my kids live, and my mom happens to live in the same building, so I do have options of where to stay. I just wanted my own space. This is not a desperation move. This is a choice. So yeah, 4:30 in the morning, I got up and went back into where my wife, we were separated, and my kids are in the apartment, and just waited for my son to wake up, which is usually around 6:30 in the morning. But yeah, so complete misery. When I was a little bit discouraged, but I realized I just need to do a little more research, which I did. Found the stuff again on cheaprvliving.com called Reflectix, and it's a roll of like silver. It's like bubble tape. It's insulation, cheap insulation. It's bubble tape with like reflective stuff on the outside. So I guess it reflects the heat away or the cold or whatever. I don't know exactly how it works, but it works. So I got a roll of that from Amazon. And I cut out pieces to cover the van windows in the back because there was like really strong drafts right where my head and my feet were. So that helped. I duct taped them to the windows to really make sure that no heat was escaping. And the other major thing I did was get a propane heater, the Mr. Heater, which everybody in the van community seems to be using. And that was amazing. That thing is cozy. It's like having a fireplace there. So that was really nice. I did crack the window because supposedly it's safe to use indoors, but you always got to take those things with a grain of salt. So I cracked the window open a little bit, and I ran it for about an hour, maybe a little less, half an hour. But it got me so warm that I took my hoodie off, and I took my socks off that were a little bit wet. So that would have sucked sleeping in a cold van with wet socks. So I didn't have to do that, luckily. And so I turned it on. I ran it for about an hour. Turned it off. I left the window cracked open for a couple of more minutes, then closed the window. Went to sleep. It was so cozy. So basically, same setup. I think it was a little bit warmer last night. It was probably in the lower 40s, but essentially same setup, same blanket, except I had the heater and I had the insulation. So definitely recommend that. That was a huge step up from just sleeping in the van with a blanket. Then my next move would be I already ordered it on eBay, like a military issue sleeping bag, because it is going to get a little bit colder here. So with that, I should be okay, I think. Yeah, that's about it. It's actually pretty easy to make the jump into the RV thing. I'm sorry, the van life. I was super cozy, and I felt free, even though I can't just get up and drive off and go to another state or something. I felt free because, I could park on a different block. I could live where my van is, essentially. If I want to go to a neighborhood that's a little bit more prestigious, just to be in that, soak up those vibes. If I want to go to the city or Williamsburg or something, I could do that and park there for the night. Set my alarm for 6 a.m., drive back to where my kids are, and, I'm good. But essentially, I don't have to pay rent and I live where I want. I'm only limited by, my responsibilities. So, yeah, it's pretty good. So I guess the point here is that it's a pretty easy transition, and or for me it was anyway, for my needs. And you don't have to be, completely independent with no strings attached to do it. Like, I have kids, and it seems to be working out. We'll see. I guess I'll just continue, hopefully, making these videos if anybody cares, and talk about how it's going, and hopefully share some useful tips and stuff like that. All right, thank you.